Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much to I and Glee for inviting me this morning to speak to you. But I have to say that I've had a series of roles I've been invited to undertake in the last few weeks, none of which I'm qualified to do. And this is another of them. So if my phone goes off, I've left it on because I'm expecting a call from the FA for the England manager's job, and perhaps from the Labour Party as well, I think today, and maybe even Prime Minister could be me soon. I'm unqualified to do any of those roles, and the reason I'm unqualified perhaps to speak to you this morning is that I have no buying responsibility whatsoever in our business. In fact, one of the reasons for this is that my buying successes have been very few. One of the highlights in recent years was some wood-burning stoves that I purchased at Glee, actually it was, none of which sold, and the sale or return deal, they won't answer my emails now. So that was one of the big ones. And then also a fabulous new snow clearing shovel, which again was I think 3 years ago, and I went big on them, and I guess they work because it hasn't snowed since, but and everyone got the benefit of them without paying any money, so I'm sort of kept well away from all of those things. Yes, but actually I am a visitor to Glee. I go every year and I spend quite a lot of time looking around the stands. But I suppose the reason for saying that I'm unqualified to do that is that there are all sorts of different people that will come and visit your stands, I guess. And some of them are serious buyers who will be making buying decisions on that day. Others will be garden centre staff who've just been given a day out and will be learning about product, I guess. And then people like me who will be, what I'll be looking for is anything new, any product that is different that we don't normally stock or sell, and also hopefully I'll be looking for trends as well. So whereas I don't necessarily make any direct buying decisions, I hopefully will be influencing the people in our organisation who do come and place orders. So I am a visitor, and these are some of the things, and actually some of them are a repetition of the two presentations we've had so far, but nevertheless I guess that means they probably are worth listening to perhaps. So the first thing is, I think that, and I see this so often, particularly on the smaller stands, where people have paid an awful lot of money, have had very good value from Glee as to the cost of the stand, but they need to make the most of it. And they've built their stand, put their displays up, and then there's two, usually blokes, standing at the front, and they are sales reps, and they are blocking the whole stand. You cannot see the stand. And the primeval instinct in me, the chimp in me, says, do not go anywhere near that. And they're looking at you as if to say, come on if you feel you're hard enough onto the stand. They have got 100 years of experience on the road. They've got the latest Mondeo car, and they have been eating motorway food for those 100 years as well. And part-time, at weekends, they are bouncers in seedy nightclubs. Anyway, I'm exaggerating, of course, that's no one here, but that's what it feels like. And so the first thing is, don't block the stand. And you know, a bit like the hose pipe, that's the barrier. Those things are often quite small. You don't realise that you're doing it. But I suppose my analogy could be the spider in the spider's web. And contrary to what cartoons show a spider, the spider builds a web, and then the spider in cartoons sits right in the middle and says, just come on in, like this. But in fact, what it does is hides at the side of the web, waits for people to come in and be interested, and then, I don't want to take this analogy too far, then wraps them up in gossamer and injects them with a sleeping drug. I don't think that's legal now, so don't try that. Anyway, so keep to one side so that people can actually get to your stand and see your product, I think is what I'm trying to say. I mean, other barriers as well are people on the stand just talking to each other and not acknowledging you at all. Worse than that is working on laptops, even though they're looking busy, which I think people need to look busy, but and also then reading the newspapers we've heard or playing on their phones are all sort of things which turn you off from the stand. The other thing I would say is also when you design your stand, a bit like we would in the garden centre, is actually make it accessible. And you want to make the most of it, but sometimes there's a display which creates sort of quite tight corners and places. So again, my caveman in me looks and thinks if there's two reps and that's a tight corner, I'll go in there. One of them will talk to me, the other one will block my exit. So that's a problem for me. So actually getting onto the stand is the real crucial thing. And the welcome, I think, is an important thing. And I suppose my overriding, it should be on the top of my list really, is I think what you're doing, not necessarily selling product at Glee, but actually beginning relationships or continuing relationships, particularly with people who go there with what I go for. And so in the garden centre, what we would do, where our ethos is talking about we are into relationships, not transactions. So starting off with friendly greetings, eye contact, nothing to do with questions that will immediately register a no answer in terms of the help that you're offering. But so be subtle with the approach, find an angle where you can get a conversation going without actually putting people off. So I think, and in terms of having enough staff, you need enough staff there so that they're constantly available, but I guess you don't want to be too overstaffed, and finding, because I understand that if it's 4 days, 3 or 4 days of a lot of hours, it can get fairly tedious, and so finding things for people to do when it is quiet so that they don't look bored, I think would be worth thinking about. So, and then getting your product noticed, I think display them like we would in the garden centre. So find out ways of displaying product so that we understand how it might look when we buy it and get it home. And create the merchandising ideas as well. Because that's what stops most buyers, is they can see how it would fit. And how it fits with other product. And also this thing about handling the product, I think, is really, really important. So if you take our Christmas displays, we have signage around which says, if something gets broken, don't worry, tell a member of staff, we'll come and clear it up. Because we want people to handle product, because as soon as they handle it in the retail situation, they're likely to then purchase it. Whereas if you've got a sign which says, and you see this in gift shops sometimes, nice to touch, nice to hold, if it's broke, we say sold, you know, it's a barrier. So get them involved, get them touching the product. As Boyd said earlier on, it's got to be real product. So empty boxes don't feel good, even if that product's not ready. And things which, you know, it'll be better when it's properly built, I think, is worth listening to. And I think in terms of then creating sales, I think be open with customers about what is selling well and what isn't of the lines. I think, you know, in the end, we're all dealing with the same customer. So it's no good us having something that isn't going to sell, because it'll come home to roost in the end. I think crucial to have prices available. It is amazing how many times you can't get a price. That is a huge barrier. Availability as well, I think is important to know how available, how quickly it can be got to us, what the lead times are. I think show offers on the day. We tend not to do much buying at all at the show, but we'll consider what we've seen afterwards, and I think show offers ought to be extended beyond the show. I'm amazed at how many people don't understand the margin that we need as retailers, particularly if they're new to to an industry. Even some smaller suppliers not understanding that they may not be VAT registered, but we are, not understanding that and how these things work. So knowing that, I think, is a really important thing. And I think also for new lines, it's a good idea to have low minimum orders. So I'm going to take a huge risk in sticking your product in my centres, and so the less of it I have to have in one go, the better. That will help enormously. I appreciate the more that you dispatch in one go, the better it is value-wise, but actually I need a way in on it, and that might be the way to do it. And lastly, but not in any particular order, I think it's also important to understand who the buyer is and who they represent as well. So whether it's one centre on their own, a small group of centres, a large group of centres, or even they're from a buying group. And I think that's really important to know who the buying groups are and who's in them, because it inevitably, from your point of view, will be a slightly different angle, because you may not be talking to the decision maker there either. So hopefully those have been useful to you, but if you want to take one thing from what I've said today, is this: that if you see me coming to your stand, then I'm no value to you whatsoever. And secondly, if I like the products that you're selling, I would suggest you sell the business and move into something else, because it sure as hell isn't going to work. There we are. Thank you very much.